Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, JRC Restoration, Decor and Designs. And my name is Phyllis, and if this is your first time visiting my channel, I want to thank you for stopping by, and please consider subscribing if you like what you see. In today's video, I am sharing with you how I recreated my version of this mirror and wall sconce. Now I created this about 3 years ago. And the first one is what I copied, and here it is. I did this again about 2 or 3 years ago. And I wasn't all that crazy about it because it wasn't bling enough for me, I guess. And then I took it down and I added these gems, these marble gems is what I call them, from the Dollar Tree. And it's a version of the second one that I found online where you can put a candle on it. And the mirrors, all of them came from the Dollar Tree, except the middle one. The middle one I bought from a secondhand storage place that's something like Habitat for Humanity. Now I'm showing you this because it doesn't look like this now. The part where the candle or the glass is holding. I went away one summer, I guess it was 2 summers ago, because again I made this like 2 or 3 years ago. And when I came home, it was on the floor. And it wasn't because of not using the right stuff to hold it. The mirrors and everything stayed in place. Just a few of the marbles came off. I didn't have the right backing or anchor and screws in the wall to hold the weight because this is heavy. I just showed you a piece of wood, which is this, because I'm going to show you how I make a second one. And it's going to look a little different, but very close to it. But the weight of the wood and then the mirrors and then the marbles on it kind of, it's weighty, and I didn't have the right anchor in the wall. This time I put the right anchor in the wall. Now here is the second one updated. The first one, if you remember seeing, it was little beads around the trim part of the mirror and a little square mirror holding up the part that's holding the candle. I'm just showing you here the wood, which I got out of my garage. I have so much wood. I'm comparing it to the length to make sure it's the same length and the same thickness, and it is. Again, this is the second time that I put it up because it fell down, and that mirror that was holding that up there and the other mirror that was under it, that came off when it fell off the wall. Now here the extra mirrors that I had. All of these are from the Dollar Tree. This big one, it is from the Dollar Tree, and if you remember the mirrors they had that had the black plastic, it was in a black plastic surrounding. That's how large they were at the time before they downsized them. And now they're the size of the one that's just above the large mirror. Now the smaller mirrors, I got those from Michael's. But the big mirror in the middle and then the two on either side of the big mirror, they are from the mirrors from the Dollar Tree that has the black plastic ring around it. It's just downsized. It's not as big as it used to be. Now I'm showing you these styrofoam pieces, which also I got from the Dollar Tree. I was thinking that I needed to stack these on here to bring them up to the height of the first one that I made. And after I started putting it together, I discovered I really didn't need these. I ended up using them, but once I glued them on, I realized I didn't need them. Now what I'm using here is black spray paint because I didn't have acrylic paint. The first one, the wood of the first sconce that I made, I used black acrylic paint. So I'm just basically using what I have on hand. So I'm spray painting it all around. And I think I just did one coat on both because again, it's gonna be hidden by the mirrors and the gem pieces, the marble pieces that's gonna go around the mirror that I got from the Dollar Tree. Now here I'm taking out the screw. This is just, not the screw, but the picture hanging piece that I put on there. It's the little small ones where it's the teeth on both ends. I initially put it there, but when I looked at the first one I made, I noticed that it was down a little further. So what I'm doing is I'm putting it side by side to make sure that I have it in the same spot as the one on the other one. So when I hang them on the wall, they're hanging evenly side by side. So that's what I'm doing when I put it down on top of it, and I have to do it this way because of the piece that's sticking up there in the middle that holds the candle. I didn't want to take any chances of breaking that. So I measured it using the one that I made. I put it on top and I felt for the spot, and it was spot on. When I screwed it in and laid, you'll see where I will lay that one that's already completed on top of this, and the screws are in the same spot, coming from the top of the sconce down to where, not the screws, the anchors, or the picture hanger. That's what it is, the picture hanger. And if you decide to do this, I would use the picture hanger where you have to screw it in, not the kind that has the point on both tips to hammer it in. Because of the weight, it may come down if you decide to create this. Now here, what I'm doing is just laying out the styrofoam in the mirrors, and I'm just spacing it out first before I paint the rims of the styrofoam and glue them down. So I'm just basically just spacing it out and making sure I'm allowing myself room for these other mirrors, which are, since I didn't have any more round mirrors, I'm using these other mirrors that I got from the Dollar Tree, and this is in a stash that I have. It's the hexagons, the ones that have the 6 sides. It looks almost like a stop sign. Those are going to be on top. And as I was stating earlier, I realized I didn't need the styrofoam. I could have glued the round mirrors directly on the wood, then trimmed them all out with the marble, then laid the octagon ones on top, because that's how I did the first one. And I was only thinking I needed the styrofoam to elevate them so it could look like the first one. But I made it work out, and you're going to see where I have to kind of do some adjustments of adding more marbles to the first one so it can look identical to the one that I'm creating now. And here I'm just showing you, I took the regular acrylic paint and I painted around the styrofoam, and I'll be painting the back of this because that's what's going to hold the candle. And here again, as I stated earlier, I'm going to just be painting around the edges of all the styrofoams, and then I'm going to be gluing them onto the wood. I do let them dry, and I'm using the Gorilla clear glue to glue the mirrors and the styrofoam onto the board. Now, after using this Gorilla clear glue, I think I'm going to retire using that in E6000 because number one, it's very messy and it dries up in the tube. And I think I'm just going to go with it. You'll see where I'm going to use later on down in the video the adhesive from the Dollar Tree that's in a yellow tube. But I painted the back of that mirror again because that's what the candle is going to sit on, and I'm showing you here when you hang it up, I didn't want the paper or anything to show. I wanted it to be black. Now here, this is when this Gorilla Glue just got messy. I was trying to squeeze it out, and it actually started piercing holes through the tube itself in the middle of the tube, and my hand just got all messy. So that's why you see me using the screwdriver, poking the hole in the styrofoam to lift it up to put it on to the wood. And then after I do that, what you can't see me doing now is I'm putting it on. Now I'm putting it on to the styrofoam so I can put the mirrors on top. Okay, now these are the gems that you get from the Dollar Tree. When I did this thing 3 years ago, I just bought a bunch of them. So I have a big bowl full of them. Here it is. I'm showing you that I'm using E6000, not the E6000, but the Gorilla Clear Glue and glue sticks. The combination of those two together on top of glass or plastic does not work. So here I just straight used the hot glue gun, and the glue sticks are Gorilla Glue sticks. So they're very, very strong, and the mirrors do not come off. And I'm just placing them on top of the round mirrors, and I'm going to show you here where I'm going to be going around all of the mirrors, and then I'm going to later show you how I will continue to make it a circle. You see where I started right at the beginning of the hexagon mirror. Well, I am going to come around and make it look like a complete circle with the marbles. Now coming up, you'll see where I finished it, and I actually went all the way around, even on top of the octagon one, to make it look like a complete circle, because I was trying to mimic the first sconce that I made 3 years ago. So that's what I'm explaining here. I'm going all the way around to make it look like a complete circle. That's what I did with this one, and you'll see later on when I put it on the floor and put them side by side, it looked totally different from the first one. So I had to end up putting marbles on the first one to make those look like complete circles. And I'll be showing you that by pointing it out with my finger when we get to that. You'll see that when I demonstrate that, when I put them side by side on the floor leaning up against my sofa. Now this is what I'm talking about. If you can see the part on the one I'm going to show you where there is no marbles right here. I had marbles there and I had to take them off. But see here where I'm pointing, the marbles are there. Well, they are not on top of this. So I have to add some. And this is the first one that I made, the one I'm showing you now. So to make it look like the one that I'm making now, I have to put marbles there. And right here, I'm just pointing that I'm going to use some Jenga blocks. And that's what's going to hold up the mirror that will be holding up the candle. So if you look at it real closely, you'll see how different it is. And also, I didn't realize the first one, the mirror, big mirror in the middle, is actually a little larger than the big mirror on the second one that I'm creating. Here I'm showing the Jenga blocks on the first one that I created. That's what's holding up the weight. And I do use E6000 for this, or the Gorilla Glue for this. Not the Gorilla Glue, but the adhesive that you get from the Dollar Tree that's in a yellow tube. And here that was a piece of stick that I found in my garage, believe it or not, that was the same width and thickness of the Jenga block. So I used my miter box to cut out another piece because I didn't have any more, and I painted it black, as you see me doing here. And I'm going to put it on the one that I'm making now to mimic the one that I made over 2 years ago. And here is an old candle top. That's what I use to hold the can, and then a Dollar Tree napkin ring, and then one of the mirrors. And I'm going to be gluing the little clear marbles all the way around the top. And here's the adhesive glue that I said that I'm going to start using. I'm not a fan now of the E6000 or the Gorilla Glue, mainly because of the tube that it's in, I guess. So I used the E6000 to put that on the mirror, and then I'm going to put the top on top of that as well. And I put those two marbles there so I make sure that it's spaced enough for when I sit it, glue it to the sconce, that the marbles is not in the way of the block. So here I'm just going to trim the cap all the way around, except for the opening there that I would need to lean it up against the sconce. And there I'm just testing the candle, which I knew it would fit anyway. Now here's the first one that I made. I'm showing you how I'm having to add marbles now so it can actually look like the second one that I'm making. And again, if I had really looked at it closely and a little longer before I decided to put this together, I would have put the mirrors directly on the wood and then trimmed all the round mirrors with the marble, and then set the octagon or the hexagon mirrors on top and trimmed them with the marbles, because that's what I did with this. If you look closely, that's how it's elevated up off of the round mirrors, because the mirrors on top is actually sitting on the marbles and not styrofoam. But because I didn't do that, now I'm having to add marbles to this to mimic the second one that I'm making. Now here, I'm showing you here, I had to take the marbles off or the gems off because this is the area where the candle is going to be glued and sitting, and the two jingle blocks. Again, I had painted it black and sat it there, and then the mirror is going to be sitting on top of that, and then another mirror goes on top of that to hold it together. And coming up is my completed wall sconce. I hope you all enjoyed watching this, and I want to thank you for stopping by. JRC Restoration, Decor, and Designs. And remember, the distance between your dreams and reality is called action. So until next time, make it a blessed and productive day, everyone.